He took his mistress to a 5-star hotel, but froze when his wife walked in as the new owner. What would you do if the very place you thought you were safe became the stage where your biggest secret was exposed? What if the one person you betrayed turned out to hold more power over your destiny than you ever imagined? Stay with this story until the end, because what happened left everyone stunned. And before we go further, remember to like this video and subscribe to Kindness Stories for more powerful tales that will touch your heart. Ravi was a man who thought he had figured out life. He had a successful business, a comfortable home, a loving wife who had stood beside him through his struggles, and a son who looked up to him as a hero. But Ravi was not content. Somewhere deep inside him, greed for excitement began to grow, and that greed led him down a dangerous road. He met Neha, a younger woman who made him feel desired in a way that stroked his ego. Their meetings began innocently at first, but soon, Ravi was sneaking away from home, lying to his wife, and building a second life filled with secrets. That evening, he chose the city's most prestigious new hotel for his rendezvous. The 5-star property sparkled with luxury, crystal chandeliers, golden decor, and staff that bowed politely at every guest. He had reserved a lavish suite for himself and Neha, thinking it was the perfect hideaway. He believed no one could find out, no one could question him. He walked confidently through the lobby, holding Neha's hand, laughing as if the world belonged to him. He told himself it was just fun, just temporary, that it didn't mean anything compared to the stability of his marriage. Yet, deep down, he knew he was playing with fire. The evening began with wine and flattery. Neha teased him, whispered promises of passion, and Ravi, intoxicated by her attention, felt invincible. But his arrogance was about to shatter in ways he could never have predicted. As they sat together, the hotel manager approached the guests with an announcement. With pride in his voice, the manager requested everyone to gather in the grand lobby to welcome the new owner of the hotel, who had recently acquired it and wanted to meet the patrons. Ravi barely paid attention at first, too engrossed in Neha's laughter. But when the announcement was made, his entire world collapsed. Please welcome Mrs. Meera Sharma, the new owner of our hotel. Ravi's blood ran cold. He turned slowly toward the entrance, and there she was, his wife, Meera, dressed in a graceful cream sari, her head held high, eyes calm but commanding respect. She smiled at the applauding crowd, her elegance undeniable. Ravi froze in his seat, his throat dry, his heart hammering so loudly he thought everyone could hear it. Neha noticed his panic, glanced at Meera, and whispered in disbelief, "Isn't that your wife?" Ravi couldn't respond. His chest tightened as shame flooded his body. How could she be the owner of this place? He had mocked her boutique, dismissed her business ventures as hobbies, never once realizing that she had been quietly building her own empire. And now, standing before him, she was not just his wife, but a woman of power and independence, someone far greater than he had ever given her credit for. Their eyes met across the lobby. For a brief moment, time stopped. Meera's gaze was steady, piercing, yet not loud with anger. It was calm, too calm, and that calmness was far more terrifying than rage. Ravi felt his body weaken, his mask of confidence shattering into 1,000 pieces. Neha excused herself quickly, sensing she was part of something much bigger than a secret affair. She left him alone, exposed, trembling in the middle of the grand hotel he had chosen for betrayal. When the crowd dispersed after the ceremony, Ravi found himself outside in the garden, waiting, pacing, guilt twisting his insides. He knew Meera would come. He didn't know whether she would scream, slap, or simply walk away forever. His mind raced, but his heart felt heavier with every second. Meera appeared, walking gracefully, her eyes unreadable. She stood in front of him, her silence more powerful than any storm. Finally, she spoke, her voice steady and low, but each word cutting deeper than a knife. "I knew, Ravi. I knew for months. Do you think a wife cannot sense when her husband's heart has gone elsewhere? I waited. I prayed you would realize what you were doing. But instead of coming back, you walked further away. Ravi stumbled, trying to speak. Meera, it was a mistake. I didn't mean. Didn't mean, she interrupted, her eyes sharp but glistening with restrained pain. Do you call breaking vows nothing? Do you call shattering trust nothing? I stood by you when you were nothing. I sacrificed my dreams so you could build yours. And this is what you gave me in return. He dropped onto a bench, his face in his hands, ashamed. I was foolish, blind. Please, forgive me. Meera sat across from him, her hands resting neatly on her lap, her posture calm but unyielding. Forgiveness is not so cheap, Ravi. Trust, once broken, is not repaired with a single apology. Do you even understand what it means to wound someone who loved you with her whole soul? His tears spilled freely. He looked up at her, his voice shaking. How are you the owner of this hotel? Her eyes softened slightly, but her strength remained. I worked hard. The boutique you dismissed as a hobby became a chain of stores. I invested wisely. And when this opportunity came, I took it. I didn't do it to prove anything to you. I did it to prove something to myself. I didn't need you to define who I was. Every word was a dagger to his pride. He remembered how many times he had mocked her, belittled her ambitions, telling her she was lucky to have him. Yet here she stood, more powerful, more respected, more dignified than he could ever be. Meera, I'll end everything with Neha. I'll be the man you deserve again. Just, give me one chance, he begged, his voice breaking. She looked at him for a long moment. Do you know what makes a person truly rich, Ravi? Not the hotels, not the money, not the luxuries. It is loyalty. It is love. It is kindness. And you traded all of that for an illusion. Her words sank deep, heavier than anything he had ever heard. She stood then, her silhouette tall against the golden lights of the hotel. I don't know if I can ever see you the same way again. Maybe time will tell. But tonight, I want you to remember how it feels to lose everything. Not because of fate, not because of bad luck, but because of choices you made. She walked away, leaving him broken in the darkness of the garden. The following weeks were filled with regret for Ravi. He sent endless messages, tried calling, tried gifts, but Meera was no longer the woman who bent to his excuses. She was strong, focused, and dignified. She poured herself into her work, into raising their son, into living a life where she was whole without needing him. One evening, he returned home to find her helping their son with homework. Her face was calm, gentle, filled with the same love she had always given as a mother. He stood in the doorway, tears filling his eyes. I don't deserve you, he whispered. But I will spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy again. Meera looked at him, her silence heavy with meaning. She didn't forgive him easily. She didn't let him believe that things would go back to normal overnight. But she allowed him a chance, not for his sake, but for the sake of their family, for the love that still lingered beneath the scars. Ravi knew he would carry the weight of his betrayal forever. He knew he had destroyed something priceless. But he also knew that Meera's strength, her dignity, her choice to stand tall rather than seek revenge, had taught him the greatest lesson of his life. That true kindness is not about blind forgiveness but about showing the power of dignity, of loyalty, of self-respect. And so, his journey began, not as a man who had everything, but as a man who finally understood what mattered most. If this story touched you, remember to like this video and subscribe to Kindness Stories for more emotional journeys that remind us of the value of love, loyalty, and the strength of a kind heart.